Wild game jerky has become even more popular in recent years since jerky has become almost a staple item in most home pantries. More diet-conscious men and women are eating jerky due to the nutritional benefit and the low fat content. Jerky can cost anywhere from $10 to $30 per pound, so making a jerky out of wild game or domestic meat makes economic sense.
Since High Country is a dried meat snacks manufacturer, we manufacture jerky according to the standards set by the USDA. In fact, jerky cannot be called jerky unless it meets certain moisture-protein ratios and water activity levels. The jerky we make in this video will be made similar to these standards. Technically, this jerky is categorized as heat-treated and shelf-stable. Since reducing moisture content is central to shelf stability, the meat is cut thin, shortening the distance for water to travel to the surface to be evaporated.
Shelf-stable jerky doesn't require refrigeration, so extra steps need to be taken to assure that bacterial growth is inhibited. To accomplish this, most of the free water, which can be up to 70% of meat, must be evaporated or tied up. Free water is extracellular water that is not bound to protein. However, when too much free water is evaporated, jerky will become hard, brittle, and dry. High Country jerky blends are uniquely formulated to limit this problem. Ingredients such as humectants or sugars are added to bind some of that free water to make the jerky more palatable.
In addition to tying up or removing moisture, High Country blends utilize salt and cures, age-old preserving ingredients to inhibit bacterial growth.
All of these principles and others throughout this video will help you make jerky safe and palatable for you and your friends to eat. We will be using elk rounds for making our jerky. Meat for jerky should be 100% lean and have sinews and silver skin removed. These rounds work great because these large leg muscles can be sectioned out and peeled of its silver skin, making it easy to slice flats or stick-style jerky. The game butchering process will not be covered in these videos, however. We will be using meat that has been thoroughly trimmed and cleaned.
We like to frost up our meat in the freezer a couple hours to make it easier to control our cutting thickness. A knife, or an electric knife, or a home slicer such as this one here can be used to do this. We will be slicing meat to make both flat style and stick style jerkies.
It's important to slice all your meat to a uniform thickness. This will become much more relevant in the thermal processing step. The use of gauges, such as these, help a lot. It's a good idea to have some of these or a ruler handy. We are cutting our flat style about 1/4 inch thick and our sticks about 1/2 by 1/2 inch. This assures us that moisture is traveling a very short distance from the center of the surface to be evaporated.
Meat that is cut across the grain creates shorter meat fibers, much the same as cutting 1/4 inch off the end of a rope. The finished jerky will be more tender than the meat cut with the grain or along the length of the rope. However, this is not always possible or required to make good jerky. Any trim meat that we would rather not use for this style jerky will be saved for our ground and form jerky in another segment.
We're just about finished slicing our meat for jerky. If the meat is still frosty, allow it to slack out prior to mixing in the spices though. Purge from the meat will be used to better distribute the spices. If you are using fresh meat, you will likely not have any purge. We have the weight of the meat, so we will simply use the portion that our recipe calls for. The recipe chart is broken down in increments of 1 pound, 5 pound, 10 pound, and 15 pounds, so we can dial right into our correct portion. We will use cure in our jerky, which again gives us a great jerky color, flavor, and of course inhibit the growth of botulinum and other potential undesirable bacteria.
We will be spicing our sticks and flats with different spice blends. One batch will be made with High Country Spicy Blend and the other with Teriyaki Blend. Since we are working with two 10-pound batches, each will require 1 1/3 cups of spice blend, and 1 1/4 teaspoon of cure. We have already mixed our cure in with the spice to better distribute the cure through the batch.
It's important to note that high country jerky blends are intended to be added to the meat dry and not mixed with water. The larger objective in making jerky is to dehydrate or evaporate free water for shelf stability, so adding more water is counterproductive. Thoroughly mix and coat the meat with the spices. Overmixing is not necessary and sometimes detrimental to the more fragile pieces. High country's cure can be omitted since our functional humectants and salt are formulated in the seasoning blend. As compared with jerky made with cure, uncured jerky may have a warmed over roast beef flavor and will not have the typical mahogany reddish color.
We would like to take a minute to show you how to be creative with these blends. Dean will make a spicy honey-kissed jerky with his spicy blend, and I'll make a spicy teriyaki jerky. We'll use the ingredients that are common in most households.
All we need to make this for the honey-kissed is a 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1/3 cup of honey. The spicy blend that we are using will take care of the rest. Simply add and mix these ingredients in. As a bonus, these ingredients are also humectants and will make the jerky even more palatable.
For our spicy teriyaki, we're simply going to use crushed chili peppers, like the kind you put on your pizza. Crushed chili peppers let you visualize how spicy the jerky will be. Add 1 tablespoon and mix through the meat and see if you want to add another. Just a small amount of coverage goes a long way with this spice.
We will put the spiced meat into the refrigerator overnight to allow the cure to work through the meat. Solid muscle takes more time for the cure and the salt to migrate through the meat as opposed to mixing these ingredients into the ground meat. Now we're ready to lay out some of our meat on trays to be heat treated in a cooker smoker and save the rest for heat processing in our home oven and in our home dehydrator.
The objective in preparing meat to be cooked and dried is to assure that the pieces are not touching each other or laying over each other and that the meat is unfolded. It may be obvious, but those areas will not get smoked and it will appear raw and be undercooked.
We'll go ahead and just finish laying these now, and we'll be outside heat processing this jerky.